Hi there, my name is Nicole Scalia, and I'm a teacher candidate excited to teach you guys just a little bit more about ADHD and how the psychiatric disorder affects students within the classroom. I've chosen to talk about ADHD in specific because I have family members who live with this disorder. I have one member who has ADD and one who has ADHD. For me, it was important to learn more about these specific disorders and how to apply and use this information to make students more comfortable within the classroom. My family has encountered a lot of teachers with poor implications on how to deal with this disorder, and I hope that by the end of this video today, that as future teachers can accommodate for these students. ADHD is a fairly common psychiatric disorder that's diagnosed and treatable in both children and adults. This specific disorder affects the areas of the prefrontal cortex and related circuits in the cerebellum. Within a classroom, it's more than likely that at least one student will be diagnosed or show signs of ADHD. Therefore, it is crucial to understand how to identify these students and the best ways to not just accommodate for them, but to help them instill strategies that will help them in further years of school. For students with ADHD, they need a quiet, determined environment that minimizes distractions. The primary characteristics found in children with ADHD are inattention, impulsivity, and hyperactivity. One great reference that teachers can refer to is the ADHD Handbook for Schools, Effective Strategies for Identifying and Teaching Students with Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. This is by Harvey C. Parker, and it was made in 2005. It states that ADHD symptoms can have a serious impact on the social, emotional, and academic performance of children. Paying attention in class, following rules, being able to exert self-control and think about consequences before acting, interacting appropriately in games and sports, developing meaningful relationships with others can be a challenge. So students with ADHD have a very difficult time within schools, and teachers don't really necessarily understand to what extent. In the handbook guide, they broke down problems with ADHD within the classroom into 4 categories: problems with attention span, problems with impulsivity, problems with hyperactivity, and problem with executive functions. So now I'm going to talk about and break down what these problems consist of and how as teachers can implicate accommodations for them within the classroom environment. So when it comes to problems with attention span, the short attention span is a big symptom of ADHD, and it makes it most difficult within schools. In the classrooms, children who are attentive often do better and stay focused for long enough times to finish assignments. They have trouble focusing, following their teacher's directions, and often drift to their own given task. They have problems with organization, and this can result to missed assignments or incompleted task work. Their problems with impulsivity refer to the children's inability to regulate their emotions and behavior. So the child will act quickly without giving sufficient forethought to the consequence of their behavior. This can cause students to skip over readings, meaning that they'll have misdirection to due dates, or they won't understand what's given for the task at hand. The impulsive student may disturb classroom environments by losing books, dropping pens, calling the teacher out, leaving work everywhere, having a messy desk. They just do things without thinking. So children with ADHD who are hyperactive and impulsive have a knock for getting on other people's nerves, so other children find their behavior annoying because they never seem to realize when enough is enough. When we talk about problems with hyperactivity, it's really important to note that not all children with ADHD are hyperactive. Many, in fact, show normal activity levels or may even be underactive. Preschool children with ADHD are always touching something. They're running about, they're rarely satisfied, they're hardly sticking with one thing for very long, and they need a lot of supervision. In elementary school, the children's activity level changes from running to restless. So they have a lot of things like fidgeting, squirming, shuffling feet, drumming their fingers, playing with toys consistently, tipping their chair, and asking for a lot of breaks, so bathroom breaks, walk breaks, water breaks. Hyperactive girls in specific may express their energy in a less physical way, primarily through excessive talking. And the important thing to remember is that not all children are hyperactive. So when we talk about problems with executive functions refers to the set of processes that people use to problem solve and respond in purposeful and goal-directed ways. So they enable us to initiate behavior, inhibit competing actions or stimuli, select prevalent task goals, plan and organize problem solving, and monitoring behavior. Another resource that I found throughout research was Practically Speaking, ADHD in the Classroom by Wright. He wrote this in 2005 and started off by saying that many children with ADHD also have a learning disability, and almost all suffer from academic underachievement. I can vouch for this because I have a family member who has ADHD and also has a learning disability from it. And it affects the ability to pause and plan, so their behavior becomes impaired. Students with ADHD may have reduced verbal and nonverbal working memory, so the ability to monitor task performance and make changes in response to error is delayed. Reduced working memory also affects the child's sense of time. They'll have difficulty planning behavior across time and using time to manage task performance. So we have to make sure that these children are not setting unrealistic expectations. Reduced self-regulation of emotional motivation. They experience the same emotions as different individuals, however, they have more difficulty expressing these emotions. So children with ADHD are therefore more dependent upon external reinforcement to influence and drive their behavior. There's also things like poor planning and problem solving. These abilities are difficult to grasp but are important for social problem solving as well as academic achievement. Wright also gives teachers some implications to use throughout their classroom. He starts by saying to help students with ADHD achieve longer-term goals, it's essential to break down bigger assignments and projects to very small components. Giving them resources like timetables and rewards are very beneficial for their learning process. Things like including parents within the learning, getting their agenda signed and sending notes to and from helps enforce and set timelines for the student. Making sure information and rules external to assist with behavioral regulations. Students with ADHD are less able to use internal information to regulate their behavior. Class rules and expectations, task instructions need to all visually be represented where possible. It helps all students refer and use these rules on a regular basis. We need to keep in mind that students need to be motivated and interested in the tasks at hand. Students with ADHD struggle with reading, so some students have trouble remembering what they had just read. The key to supporting students' comprehension skills is to highlight the meaningful information within a text, asking direct and explicit questions to help prompt their knowledge and to help students read and find information. It's important for them to understand the main parts of the text or the key idea or theme. Students with ADHD are less able to resist distraction, so reducing and minimizing distractions within the classroom when possible, so keeping toys out of reach. When it comes to working with children with ADHD, there's a few things we could do as educators without spending money. So things we could do to encourage organization are things like using a homework assignment book. On our whiteboards or chalkboards, writing down all the assignments given at a time on the board for reference. Using post-it notes, prioritizing assignments, using a stopwatch or a timer, putting dividers within their binders, setting weekly goals or tasks, using to-do lists, encouraging note-taking within lessons, creating mind maps when stuck on ideas, writing down questions that come up throughout classroom lessons, using an agenda and calendar daily, for encouraging them during test anxiety to review and summarize all of the key points, to read and study the questions, and to read the material with the students so that when they go home they know all of the expectations prior to the test. Encourage students with ADHD to study well in advance for tests, to read over the material more than once, and to feel comfortable talking to the teacher if they feel like more accommodations or modifications need to be implemented. When teaching, it's important to look at your students in a different light. So to look for students with ADHD, you would see things like the inability to focus, students being easily distracted, having mood shifts, having stubbornness, often losing their temper, the inability to sit still, and constantly needing walks or washroom breaks. So what teachers can do to help students with ADHD is they can model appropriate social behavior. They could post clear rules and expectations for the class constantly to refer to and to review. They should be praising positive behavior and positive goal setting. They should help students break down big assignments with organizing booklets. They should use nonverbal gestures for individual check-in points. They need to provide extra activities for when work is completed so that these students aren't getting distracted or distracting other students. They need to make an environment setting where those with ADHD are able to help. So a lot of teachers will have seating plans and they will sit students with ADHD beside quiet, shy, or students who are motivated within leadership. This will allow those with ADHD to focus on not bothering the students around them. It will provide structure to students who are likely to act out. Educators should also provide them with tools to accommodate for ADHD, such as the things listed before, like organizers, lists, rubber bands, notes. Yeah. So just to recap, throughout this video, we have discussed what ADHD is, how students feel both having ADHD in the classroom, and some implications for how teachers can accommodate, modify, and adjust their daily activities for students with ADHD to excel just as much as regular students. I hope that you're all self-isolating, staying safe, and with your families. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great day.